Welcome to another episode of The Daily Threat, your go-to cybersecurity news vlog, bringing you the latest updates on the cyber world's most pressing issues. Today we have three major stories that demand our attention. We'll dive deep into each incident and understand the attacks, the consequences, and the risks they pose to businesses and individuals alike. So, without further ado, let's begin. Our first story takes us to the world of app development. Apple, the tech giant known for its stringent security measures, has recently announced new rules for developers to bolster app security. According to the report from the Hacker News, Apple aims to clamp down on potential security breaches and data leaks that may arise due to third-party APIs and SDKs used by developers. These new rules were spurred by a series of recent data breaches that affected some popular iOS apps. Attackers exploited vulnerabilities in third-party libraries integrated into these apps, leading to unauthorized access to sensitive user information. The attackers took advantage of the lack of proper security measures in the third-party libraries used by the developers. These libraries might have contained outdated code with known vulnerabilities, or the developers might not have implemented robust security practices when integrating them into their apps. This allowed the attackers to gain a foothold and access user data, potentially leading to a domino effect of data breaches. The attackers behind these incidents were likely motivated by various malicious intents, ranging from stealing personal information for identity theft and financial fraud to accessing sensitive business data for corporate espionage or extortion purposes. In some cases, this stolen data could also be sold on the dark web to other malicious actors. For businesses relying on mobile apps, this poses a significant risk to their reputation and customer trust. A data breach can lead to legal consequences, hefty fines, loss of revenue, and tarnished brand image. Additionally, users may become reluctant to engage with these apps in the future, hampering growth and hindering user acquisition. Recommendations and best practices. To mitigate such risks, developers and businesses should prioritize security throughout the app development lifecycle. Here are some key recommendations. Regular security audits. Conduct regular security audits and code reviews to identify vulnerabilities in both in-house code and third-party libraries. Update libraries. Always use the latest versions of third-party libraries, as they often include security patches for known vulnerabilities. Secure coding practices. Follow secure coding practices and implement input validation, output encoding, and proper error handling to prevent common security pitfalls. Data encryption. Implement strong data encryption techniques to safeguard sensitive user data both in transit and at rest. User permissions. Only request essential user permissions, limiting access to sensitive data, and clearly explain why each permission is necessary. Now, let's move on to our next story, which involves the gaming community and a malicious self-spreading malware targeting Call of Duty players. According to TechCrunch, hackers have launched a nefarious campaign to infect Call of Duty players with a self-spreading malware. The attackers devised a cunning technique to embed malware into the game files of Call of Duty, a highly popular online game. Once a player unknowingly downloads and installs the infected game files, the malware begins its self-spreading capabilities, replicating and propagating to other players in the same gaming network. The exact entry point for the attackers into the gaming network is not yet disclosed. However, it's likely that they exploited a vulnerability in either the game server infrastructure or the gaming platform itself. The primary objective of this malware seems to be to harvest sensitive information from players, such as login credentials, payment information, and personal data. By compromising multiple players, the attackers can potentially amass a large amount of valuable data for further exploitation or sale on the dark web. This attack poses substantial risks to both gaming companies and players. For gaming companies, such an incident can result in a tarnished reputation, loss of players, and potential legal actions. As for the players, the consequences can be far-reaching, ranging from financial losses due to fraud to identity theft and loss of privacy. To safeguard against such malware attacks in the gaming community, both gaming companies and players can take several precautions. Regular security audits. Gaming companies should conduct regular security audits of their server infrastructure and gaming platforms to identify and fix potential vulnerabilities. Secure network architecture. Implement secure network architecture to prevent unauthorized access and data exfiltration. Player awareness. Players should be educated about potential risks and advised to download games and updates only from official sources. Multi-factor authentication. MFA. Implement MFA for player accounts to add an extra layer of security and prevent unauthorized access even if login credentials are compromised. Our last story takes us to the world of malvertising and the threats it poses to innocent users. The Hacker News reports on a new malvertising campaign that has been leveraging legitimate websites to distribute malware. Malvertisers have adopted a stealthy approach by injecting malicious code into legitimate websites. Unsuspecting visitors to these websites are unknowingly exposed to the malware. The attackers likely exploited security vulnerabilities in the website's advertising platforms or ad networks to inject their malicious code into the ad content displayed to visitors. The malvertisers aimed to infect users' devices with malware, which may include ransomware, spyware, or cryptojacking scripts. Ransomware can encrypt users' files and demand a ransom for decryption keys, while spyware can steal sensitive information and cryptojacking scripts hijack users' computing power to mine cryptocurrency without their consent. Businesses hosting these infected ads may suffer severe reputational damage and lose trust from their users. For individuals, the consequences can be catastrophic, including the loss of sensitive data, financial loss due to ransom demands, and a compromised device. To safeguard against malvertising threats, both website owners and users should take these measures. Ad security measures. Website owners should vet and monitor the ads displayed on their platforms regularly. Employ ad security solutions that detect and block malicious ads. Patch management. Keep all website software and platforms up to date with the latest security patches to minimize potential vulnerabilities. Ad blockers. Users can utilize ad blockers, although this may not be feasible for websites that depend on advertising revenue. However, it can provide an additional layer of protection for individual users. That's all we have for today's episode of The Daily Threat. Thank you for joining us as we explored these critical cybersecurity incidents and their implications for businesses and individuals alike. Before we sign off, we want to remind you to stay informed about cybersecurity threats. Subscribe to The Daily Threat to receive regular updates and stay ahead of the ever-evolving cyber landscape. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and see you next time.